reason why the Big Bang Theory is a theory is because we just don't know, right?
That's not
I, I,
why
I think, I think, I
scientific
think,
theories are what they are.
yeah.
Scientific theories are validated by mathematical proofs, observations, and experiments, not necessarily always. Well,
Well, not
there's an
necessarily
element of all.
mathematical, not necessarily mathematical proofs. It's not all the time. I mean, different
I know,
theories of
not
how the
all the
universe.
time.
Yeah, yeah. But you said they are. I mean, there are some that are validated by mathematical proofs. But if there was, it was,
Yes.
if there's difference between like laws and theories, and the difference between a law and a theory is that one is provable, but mathematical otherwise, and the other is
No.
not. Okay,
No.
well, then what's the difference between a law and a theory? Why do we think we have laws in science and we have theories in science?
So theories don't become laws. That has like never happened. That's not how it works. Scientific laws are, most of them are like you can express them in words, but they boil down to just mathematical equations, like the law of universal gravitation. All laws do is just matter of factly describe something that occurs or something that is observed. That's it. What a what a scientific theory does not do is describe why anything happens. That's what scientific theories are.
So,
Oh, sorry.
well, I guess that because when I learned about scientific theories and laws, I learned that scientific theories are things that aren't like that can't be proven, or like at least are not, but things that we can visually see. We can see evidence of some aspects of it, but aren't physically proven. I guess that's what I learned when I
So
was in school. So
so
maybe I was misinformed or
there's
something. I'm not.
sometimes the way we use words is just lazy and imprecise because you can always be like technically you can always do that with everything, but it's a very fedora neckbeard Reddit user way of going about life, and it's really annoying and everybody hates it, right? So in science, scientific theories are generally accepted as proven ideas, mechanisms about the world. Now, there's always room for some improvement. I don't mean proven in the sense of absolute proof. Like a mathematical proof, you cannot, there's nothing more to find after the mathematical proof. It is what it is. Now, scientific theories don't prove things in that exact qualitative sort of way, but in terms of just like general epistemology, scientific theories are taken to be the best we can possibly do.
Well, okay, I know we're arguing about nuance here a little bit, but essentially, like,
A little
but
bit.
yeah,
So
we literally are.
can I just add something real quick?
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
So how much do you doubt that germs cause disease?
How much do I doubt that germs cause diseases?
Yeah.
I mean,
Or we could flip and say, how certain are you?
how certain am I that germs cause diseases? Um, I'm certain that there are certain germs that cause diseases. I guess, like, I understand. There's certain diseases that aren't caused by germs. But yeah, I'm certain that there are certain germs that cause diseases.
Yes.
I guess.
So that is a scientific theory, actually. It's called the germ theory of disease. Same with the existence of atoms or general relativity. They are proven true beyond any reasonable doubt.
Not necessarily. I mean, and the reason why is because if they're proven true with beyond any reasonable doubt, there wouldn't be several different theories of how something came about. Like we talk about the Big Bang theory. There's also another theory about how the universe came about, right? That talks about like the expanding and collapsing universe theory. I forgot what it's actually called. There are
So
different.
that's not that those things are not in contention with the Big Bang because the Big Bang is not a theory about what made the universe start to exist. It's only a theory that describes what the existing universe does. Nothing else.
I mean, there are parts of it that are in contention with it actually, because the Big Bang theory states essentially is that it's ever expanding, right? The universe is ever expanding. Then there are certain theories who counteract that state that the universe is actually expanding, will get to a certain limit and then contract on itself. The Big
So
Bang
that would
theory,
still be the Big Bang, though.
not necessarily, no.
No, it would, because the Big
No,
Bang is just a description of this universe. It may do something else in the future. That's underdetermined, but we still know that this universe did expand from perhaps a singular point 14 billion
No,
years
but the
ago.
Big Bang theory states that it happened in sort of like an explosionary like thing. So that those two contradict highly. Actually,
No, they
I don't
don't, because you're
understand. Like
talking about something that
one is like a
you're talking about
balloon and
something
one
that
is like a
hasn't happened
firework.
yet.
I know,
You're
but one
talking
is
about
like a.
something that hasn't happened yet.
I'm
And the
not.
Big
I'm
Bang
talking about
Theory
two
only
different
talks about,
theories that explain how the universe works. One of them
yep,
explains the universe as like a firework, and the other one
yep,
explains the universe like a balloon. Those are two separate things, and that's why
no,
theories and laws are
no,
not the same thing at all, and at least
no,
not scientifically. You're wrong.
no.
I'm sorry. I mean, we can
Oh
bring
no,
it up,
believe
and
me,
you
I'm
can.
sorry, and you are wrong. That
I
that's
could.
not
We want. Do
the
you want to?
Big
Do
Bang
you
is
want to?
not analogous to a balloon or a firecracker. It's not an actual
It is.
explosion. It's
It is
just the expansion of space. It
the
may
Big
be
Bang.
that this universe later collapses in on itself, but the Big Bang Theory only describes the history of our universe from 14 billion years ago to right now. It's not about what will
And it's
happen in the
Genesis,
future.
correct? And it's Genesis, correct? I feel like you're trying to argue a point that isn't really there because it's literally in the name. I'm sorry, but like I think the Big Bang, the bang part of the Big Bang theory equates to some sort of explosion, some sort of cos, cosmological event that
I
forced
know
an
that, but
expansion.
that's not a good description. The Big Bang, that term was coined by Fred Hoyle, who didn't think the Big Bang is what happened, so he called it because he didn't. So Fred Hoyle thought that the universe was in what's called a steady state model, which means that the universe has existed eternally, does expand, and matter is constantly created. That is not the universe we live in. He called the other model, which was originated with Georges Lemaitre, he called it like what did he call it? The I don't remember. He had the primeval atom or something like that. It was kind of weird. But Fred Hoyle was it was in disagreement with the mathematical models around the alternative explanation, so he gave it a pejorative name, but it's catchy. Humans like alliteration, so it stuck around.
Okay. Uh, Again, like we're I guess we're kind of missing the point here. We're talking about theories and laws and facts, and
Yep,
again, again, a theory
based on
is a
evidence and
plausible.
observation.
Wait, yeah, it's a plausible
Yep, I agree.
under and it doesn't mean it's not exact. It's a plausible realization of what might be the
Yep.
cause or the effect of something that we just don't know.
Yes,
That's why it's called a theory.
it's a
Because it can't be.
plausible explanation based on rigorous scientific experimentation and evidence and observations, which means there's extremely good justification for believing it. Sorry, I'm trying to move my computer monitor and it's giving me.
I'm not denying whether or not there's good justification for believing certain things, right?
Well,
I'm
but you're
saying that there are
undermining it by
conflicting
being like,
theories.
well, it's
No,
plausible, you know?
well, no, what I'm saying is because what you said earlier is that beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's what I was talking about. I was talking about the fact that theories aren't beyond a reasonable doubt.
But you don't
There
have
are.
reasonable doubt that germs don't exist, or that germs don't cause disease, or that atoms don't exist. I highly doubt you have any reasonable doubt about any scientific theory except for perhaps two of them.
Uh, Again, I can't speak towards like atoms and things like that because again, I just don't know. The reason why I don't have a reasonable doubt is because look, I'm gonna say I'm ignorant, which is not bad, right? I'm ignorant about these certain topics when it comes to germs, when it comes to atoms. If you told me this is what happened, I'm like, okay, cool. I just don't know. Like if I had more information, maybe I'll have some reasonable doubt. But right now, because of my lack of knowledge or my ignorance, I don't because I just don't think I have enough to be able to say whether not for or against something else. If that kind of
Why do
makes
you
sense.
doubt the Big Bang? I mean, germs are far simpler to
What I
conceptualize
doubt?
than the Big Bang.
You asked me why do I doubt the Big Bang?
Yeah.
No, I never said I doubted the Big Bang. The genesis of this entire argument came from the fact that you said that you know the Bible isn't scientific, and you said, and we were talking, and I'm not saying I doubt the Big Bang. I'm just, and then we started talking theories, and I said, then there are different theories about how the genesis of the universe kind of came to be and things like that.
The
And the
Big
Big
Bang
Bang
isn't
theory is just
one though.
one. It's just one interpretation.
But that's
That's why I
not
said
that's
that.
not even what the Big Bang is. The Big Bang is not it's not a an explanation of what made our universe start to exist.
Wait, time out. So what does the Big Bang theory explain then?
It just explains what our universe does. It when it began to expand from a possibly a singularity, possibly something slightly different than that, it expanded extremely rapidly for an insanely brief amount of time. Then has been expanding not exactly uniformly. It's been speeding up a little bit ever since then. All the matter and energy in the universe is conserved, but it transforms into new forms along the way. And like there's slightly more, but basically the universe expands and
So it
no new matter or
explains
energy is made.
so the Big Bang theory explains how our universe came to exist and what it does.
No, not
Essentially,
how
is
it
what you
came
just
to
told me.
exist, just what it does.
How our current universe came to exist. What do you mean? It's not. You
No,
just
not how
explained to
it
me.
came to exist. It's not that. It will never that will never ever be part of the Big Bang. It's just a description of what our universe does.
Do you realize that the point before okay, fine. Let me ask you this question because I think that you're kind of misunderstanding here. Let me ask you a couple
I
questions. We're going to get to the
really
point where I'm
don't
trying to
think
realize.
so.
Okay, are you
Go
ready?
ahead.
All
Yep.
right. So, do you believe that our universe existed before? You believe in the Big Bang theory, right? I'm
Yes.
assuming you do. All right, cool, awesome. Do you believe that our current universe, right, at least where it is, right, would say it began with expansion from a single dot?
I believe that it expanded. I don't know if it was a single dot. I mean, whatever state the
That's
universe was in before expansion would be probably totally unexplainable by conventional physics. So I don't pretend to have really an explanation for what the state of the universe before it began expanding was.
but I know, but the Big Bang theory literally states that it expanded from a single point or a single.
It's not
That's what.
necessarily a singular point. So that could be true, but
Okay, okay, please do me a favor, okay? Because I think you're arguing semantics, but you don't really understand. Search up what the definition of Big Bang Theory is, like in 5 seconds, and put it up so everybody can see it, and then
I've
read it.
read
Because I
it.
think it will answer your
I've
question
read
in like
it.
5 seconds.
Yes, I've read it, and I know that the Wikipedia page uses dot. What I'm telling you is I have talked to professional PhD physicists, and they say, well, the idea that the universe was a literal singularity before it began to expand, we're actually not super confident about that. That's why I'm telling you that when you add that extra bit to it, then I'm like, that's not really my belief. That specific detail of
Well,
it, I don't know, and
it
I
doesn't
don't
matter if
take a
that's your
stand.
belief or not. That's the genesis of that. That's what the Big Bang Theory states. I don't know if that's your belief, right? That's why I said they're not absolutely certain about it, but that's the theory. That's the literal theory. That's why it's called a
That's one
theory.
interpretation of the theory.
So one interpretation of the theory is the
Yes.
genesis of our universe and how it
Yes.
does what it does.
There are multiple theories. There are multiple interpretations of quantum mechanics, for example. There's a Copenhagen model. There's I can't remember what the other ones are off the top of my head.
Wait, time
And
out. But
they all make good mathematical predictions, and they're all based on good science, but different
yeah,
scientists
but each of those are their own
have
individual
fall
theories,
into
dude.
different camps along that.
Okay, but each of those are their own
But
individual theories.
those details aren't the entire theory as a whole.
Dude, you're saying you use quantum mechanics to kind of support your evidence. Quantum mechanics is a broad subject. We're talking about the
I
expansion of the
didn't use
universe.
it
They're
as
different.
evidence. We're talking
Oh,
about
you
how
used it
scientific theories
you
can
used it as an
contain different
example.
interpret. I used it to tell you that there are different interpretations of theories. The theories, like if you do a Venn diagram of them, they overlap. they almost entirely overlap. There are small details where there is non-overlap. Those small details are the interpretations which people differ in. For the Big Bang, singularity before it began to expand, or something different than a singularity, is an example of two different understandings. That's all I'm trying to tell you. You got really loud
Okay.
background noise.
Oh, sorry. Here, let me move to a place that's a little bit more quiet. Because there's like a basketball game going on like right next to me. Like, or
Oh
people are
yeah, I'm
watching
watching
it or
it too.
whatever. Yeah. I'm going to move to a place that's a little bit more, quiet. Um, but okay, let's get back to the topic because I think we kind of veered away from the topic. I guess we'll just agree to disagree on the subject or whatever. But all right, so let's go back to you said the Bible is not scientific. Please continue your explanation on that, please.
It doesn't contain any science at all. None. And it doesn't make scientific predictions. And it says quite a lot of things that aren't true.
Okay. You said it doesn't contain any science at all. Doesn't make scientific predictions.
And says a lot of things that aren't true.
Wait, time out. If it doesn't make any scientific prediction, it doesn't mean something is not like scientific. I'm super confused. Like for example, if I okay, what do you mean when you say something is not scientific? What do you actually define that? What does that something have to be for it to be scientific? Like, come on, scientifically
In order
possible?
for it to be
Like, what are you talking
scientific,
about?
it would have to involve, or at least endorse, the idea uh, of a of the scientific method, I guess, an empirical methodological system of trying to account for some aspects of nature that utilizes observations, experiments, and testing. And there's none of that in the Bible. The Bible is all about uh, miracles and faith and stuff like that. And now we got music.
I believe that the Bible is scientific, is because when you look at different things in the Bible, like for example, we can go with things like the Great Flood, things like that. There are evidence, at least that's been coming out, where it's whether it's historical or you're looking at like geographical evidence of a giant like catastrophe that's similar to that we can point to in different areas. Like people think that they've just discovered like I think it was like I'm not it was a couple years back, but I think people think they've just discovered maybe where Noah's Ark is in the world, things like
Oh
that.
no, they
So I
didn't.
when I said that when you said that the Bible isn't scientific, I'm saying that at least from what I thought scientific meant was okay. This can like there are certain the Bible does have aspects that are rooted in science. You can find this out. You can find out. You can get there's evidence of certain things in the Bible that are
Yeah,
able
so
to be.
that's not even remotely scientific to me because I have some history books over there, and these history books just contain, I would assume, a bunch of true historical facts. But they're not science books. They're history books. And that's not what science is. Science isn't just listing facts.
Okay, so you're saying that the Bible isn't scientific, but it does have facts in it that are relevant, that can be scientifically proven.
That's possible, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there's a single. I shouldn't say a single. I'm trying to think. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure if I would say that there's anything in the Bible that is like scientifically proven. Nothing unique to the Bible, at least. I mean, if the Bible said something that's true, but everybody on planet Earth knew it, like the moon exists, then I wouldn't like give the Bible any credit for something like that.
Or like when the Bible said like the Great Flood and
Well, yeah,
like
well, that
Noah's
never
Ark,
happened.
things like that, and you see geographical evidence that indicate that large bodies of water literally came over the earth, and you see places where people say, "Oh, this
Right.
could be
That
like where the Noah's Ark is in the world." I mean, I love. I
yeah,
mean,
that's
like
that's extremely low quality evidence. I
low
mean, we have
quality
there's
evidence.
definitely no evidence of a global flood where everything died.
There is evidence. Um,
No,
yes, yes, yes,
no,
yes, yes.
no. There's nothing like that.
There is a lot of evidence. What do you mean? What do you mean there's no evidence? I again, like I just gave you like examples. There's historical accounts of, and if you look at different, yeah, if you look at different societies, there's always a history. There's always a story of some sort of great flood that happened
Yeah, floods
around a
still
certain time.
happen.
No, like there's some sort
Floods
of great flood
happening
that
does
happened.
not equal one time the
Nah,
entire
that's
world
not.
flooded.
And then you look at, for example, I forgot there was this one video that I watched talking about like the like how much of like I'm not sure about it was about the shaping of I think it was like the desert or something when it came to I think it was like the Sahara or something like that, and how like the indication of certain aspects of it can indicate the Great Flood. Like I said, I don't know the exact information. I can probably give you references if you gave me like a day to kind of compile them and send them to you to show you the evidence. But there are evidence that has been documented, whether you're talking about
So,
historical or geographical,
right.
that you can see.
So, what I would say is rather than picking at individual little anecdotal things from neither of us are experts in anything like this. What I would say is I would point to the fact that you can't find a professional geologist. Maybe there are like 4 or 5 of them, but you virtually cannot find any professional scientist that thinks that this happened. Now, people will say, well, that's just an argument from authority or a blah, 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 blah. It's like an academic, a scientific academic consensus. If we want to try to have accurate ideas about things that have happened or the likelihood of things that have happened, then a rigorous, objective, secular, scientific, academic approach, to me, is the best possible approach you can have. And if all of that data collected in that way collectively says the same thing, yeah, there's no global flood, then to me, the best reason you could possibly believe something is the science backs it up. And the worst reason you could ever have for believing in something is that the science doesn't back it up.
Okay, so
All the
I would
single
disagree
ladies,
with you.
all the single ladies. What? Oh,
Dude, the sound behind me is like
oh.
literally super loud. I can't. But I would disagree with you on that, and in the sense that
Why?
I agree. Look, in the sense that I do agree that there has to be some sort of consensus, right? When you look at like, so again, like I remember like uh, watching this video, right, talking about the time where the poles like shifted, like because you have periods in time in history where you have like huge, massive global events. One of them was talking about the shifting of both the north and the south poles, like and the magnetic field within the Earth, and how that could have contributed to the effects of such a great flood and things like that. And you just said a
But
second
they've
ago
done
that
that dozens of times.
actually we're about I don't know how many like thousands of years overdue for one specifically. At least one on that massive of a scale. There's also you also said that you can't find, and this is what you said. You just said that you can't find a scientist that will state that such a massive flood could have happened, right? Let me ask you a question really quickly. If I found you documented evidence, right, backed up by a scientist, and I shared that with you because I'm probably going to do some research into this probably later when I get back. If I said that to you, would you take it at its word, or would you just say that's just anecdotal?
It's cherry picking, is what it is.
Uh,
If you picked a cherry, I would agree that you have a cherry in your hand. But to weigh that study against the overwhelming academic and scientific body of work, is not convincing.
So like, even if I found you evidence, you wouldn't care. You just said that's cherry picking.
I would weigh it against all the other evidence and conclude that I think I am much more reasonable to go with the thing that has the vast majority when the evidence is pointing in the other direction. Dude, it's possible
Okay.
that aliens have visited Earth. I don't believe it. If I went to Nevada and found Uncle Rico living in an Airstream ever since 1957, and he pisses in milk bottles, and he only has 9 teeth, and he says that aliens came to visit, and then I go talk to everybody else, and everybody else says, oh yeah, Uncle Rico, he's freaking crazy, dude. I have not proven that Uncle Rico is wrong. However, I have all the confidence in the world not to believe him.
Okay. Well, no, I know I'll give you that. If you had an Uncle Rico and he said that, but when you have a credible scientist who isn't like, I love how like when you made that analogy, you had like a person who isn't a credible source at all come up and say, okay, this is what happened. Like you have contradicting studies that happen all the time in the field of science. There's a lot of things that kind of have a lot of nuance in the field of science, but when you have credible sources that do investigations and say, this is what the outcome of our study states, this is what we can observe, and
You're
then
right.
taking that and saying that's cherry picking and then discrediting that scientist, I think that in itself is definition of cherry picking. My understanding, but I might be wrong.
Right. So you're right. I did compare Uncle Rico to a potential actual scientist. So I wasn't trying to straw man but that's not the illustration I was trying to make. A better illustration would be scientists get things wrong all the time, and they're very well-meaning, and they think they know what they're doing. The odds of one person being mistaken are high. The odds of 2 people making the exact same mistake is lower than the odds of just one person. The odds of 3 people, even lower. Again, when the overwhelming academic consensus has concluded this, and some other well-meaning scientist who thinks he has good methodologies says something else, it still weighs heavily against them.
No, that's true. I guess you could say that's true. Um, but I would say though that when you have things that are observable, like for example, there are things that you can observe on the world today that just doesn't make sense, or it doesn't account for some sort of massive flood. And when you have those things that are visibly observable by everybody, right? And then they're like, oh yeah, I mean some sort of event might have happened, but there's no way to account for. Oh, it must be a giant flood. I think that like I think that that's kind of where we are with these kind of things, where people are saying that okay, look, massive bodies of water must have shifted and changed locations in such a massive way to move all these big pieces of stone to create all these current landmarks that we currently see, and that in itself is observable. So I think when you have evidence that's seen, that and you have an analogy, or I guess a theory that makes sense of how that evidence came out to be, and you have other people who can observe that same evidence, I think at that point you can make at least a conclusion that this is a likely scenario of what happened during this event during this time. And at that point, that would be scientific. Can I see where I'm going with that? That kind of makes sense.
Look, we've been talking for a long time, and I got 5 people waiting, so we're going to have to pick it up next time.
All right. Talk to you later. All right. Bye.